Welcome to the Wisdom with Inner Elegance Roundtable Series. I'm Deborah Kelly, the Executive Director of the Wisdom House Retreat and Conference Center in Litchfield, Connecticut.
And I'm Caroline Phipps, the founder of Living with Inner Elegance.
As we continue to navigate these chaotic times, we will be exploring more ways to keep our sanity and to find resilience and community. Caroline, what are you seeing these days?
Well, I'm delighted to be here with you today to be, to going through some of these juicy topics that we have around keeping our sanity. I feel so many people at the moment are feeling the chaos and concerned about what to do, and it's making them feel sort of really off balance and off kilter.
Sure. Yes.
But around the globe, and this is what I'm witnessing all the time, I study human behavior, and the big themes that are going on. And what I'm seeing around the globe is people coming together in peaceful resistance to injustice with this common purpose. And so often we've seen demonstrations where people are demonstrating or resisting for a very particular cause that matters to them, right? But what I'm seeing today is that people are advocating for one another.
Yes.
And that is an extraordinary development, I think, just in the last few months.
I see that, and I find inspiration in that, here in our community and what we have going on. But when you can look around the world and see that people have come together all with that same common denominator, trying to bring community outside of our, normal everyday life, but finding that there is a greater call around the world to bring about peace for this time of chaos and injustice. It's so inspiring.
It's interesting, isn't it, that I think in the world there are these, there are scientific laws that also align with the spiritual laws of the universe. So what I'm seeing at the moment is that for every action, there is a subsequent reaction.
Yes.
And hence a consequence. And it was Isaac Newton's, I believe, third law of motion is this whole idea of actions and consequences, and there are the reactions. So what I think is happening today is that when there are forces that are trying to divide the world and separate one another, the sacred truth and the scientific truth is that we are all in this universe together. And we exchange molecules and atoms, and we are essentially a sort of living organism altogether.
Yes.
And it's interesting, isn't it, that idea of we're all here together, us and our world, interchanging, has a direct relationship to the philosophy of karma and how your karma, if you behave in a certain way, something's going to come back.
Right.
And I believe that it ties also into Christian teaching too.
Sure. In the scripture that goes back to, sacred scriptures, that we reap what we sow. And it is going to come back to us for good or for bad. But you've mentioned before the spiritual reckoning, the spiritual awakening. I do believe we had gotten comfortable. And we have fallen asleep, per se, to the power that we're just releasing and allowing, our power to be taken away from us. But now is a time where we have been awakened and seen what can happen.
And the speed of it is incredible, right?
Yes. Happens so fast.
Yeah.
So fast. And I think it caught everyone off guard. And now it's given us a little bit of time to mobilize and to reach out and to find community, not only here in our local community,
right,
but a community worldwide And again, just the thought of people around the world coming together for a common cause that we all unite behind, that we all see what's going on, how it has disrupted our lives.
Right.
Not just here, but around the world, lives that have been disrupted, and has demanded
Right.
for us to make a stand and to have a response to this.
What it's sort of done, I think, is to the minute you double down on something that is not true, the truth has this miraculous way of sort of coming to the surface no matter what.
Yes.
And I was thinking a little bit, and I wrote about this this month in my present article, the idea, let's just say, simple idea of we are going to have a way to get rid of all Black history. Mm. We're going to eradicate Black history. And the minute, of course, that you try to eradicate the entire history of a important, of course, everybody is important, this important history of a particular group and culture. Mm-hmm. But it's not only that, it's all of our history. Yes. This history belongs to all of us, you know, globally. This is a powerful part of history. Right. And what I'm seeing is that organizations and individuals are stepping up to the plate and saying, well, actually, I'm going to start teaching more about Black history over here. I'm going to put a syllabus in place over there. So the minute that you say, well, we're going to stop having that now, and that's, you know, an untruth because that is history that happened, a spotlight is shone in a way that maybe we didn't have so much of before.
Exactly. And I love what you said about how coming together, we are so much more powerful. You know, and finding that common denominator that we can all come together on and use our voices and our actions to strengthen one another, to encourage and inspire one another. I think that gives you a reason to stand up and say, you know, I'm not in this alone. You know, and I think you touched on that as well. We've all been put here for a purpose.
Right,
and
yes.
we're not alone.
Yes.
You know, and it's just finding that ability to connect with people around the world. And we're so fortunate to live in a time where there is technology, where there is that capability. We can talk to anybody around the world and bring community together, even though they're not here in our backyard. We can mobilize and bring that community together and allow our voice to become stronger and stronger to speak up against this chaos.
Well, I think this is the beauty of our time, which we touched on a little bit last time, that the speed of change can be so extraordinary now. And that actually helps us a great deal, I think, because what took centuries in the past and then decades can now, I mean, change is so rapid that we've even got it down to weeks and days now, I think.
Yes.
And one thing it makes me think of, this whole idea of people coming together with common purpose, is the story of Mahatma Gandhi in India. Now, I'm British, and oddly enough, my mother was born in British India. In 1917. She was the daughter of a British soldier in India. And she was actually born there, and then they moved back to England. So this was a very interesting story to me, that the British Empire was so powerful. I mean, basically, we had tentacles everywhere, and we were so powerful. We'd really developed so fast with the Industrial Revolution, and then there we are in India with our discrimination and our way of moving into a sovereign country and you know, being in charge of it and wanting to have people bend to our will. Right. And then Mahatma Gandhi came along and essentially believed in the sanctity of all life. He was outraged by the behavior of this giant empire machine, and basically managed to so significantly weaken the British Empire by sitting on a prayer mat, and he didn't even raise his voice.
Yeah.
And the empire was all, oh my goodness, who is this? He's getting in our way.
Yeah.
And this whole idea of he spoke to everybody. Mm-hmm. We all matter. We're all special. Mm-hmm. And so he got millions of people to follow him.
I think his inspiration was there was no division. We are all here together. We all are on the same level playing field. We all want to be, respected and cared for as anyone else on the planet. And I think that desire to not have any division amongst the people in the world is what inspired and brought about a lot of change.
Yeah, because I think what happens is that when we are aligned with one another, mm-hmm. and we know that we all matter, right. What happens is that people want to be around that.
Yes.
Courage is contagious. And the idea that you're preaching the sanctity of all life, that, the truth includes everybody.
Yes. I love that. Courage is contagious, and you are emboldened or empowered by the courage of others. And when you see other people standing up and feeling the ability to speak and bring about unity,
right,
you're encouraged to do the same thing. I think in my own life, what am I doing? What can I do?
Yeah.
You and I joked about just going back to bed and eating a half gallon of ice cream because we can't fix it. Right. But there are things we can do. And it is in finding community with other people who are like-minded, who have the same goals and the same focus and really just want peace and justice in the world that is contagious, and if you feel someone else is doing it, then you're inspired to do your part as well.
Yeah, I think the idea that courage is contagious, kindness is contagious.
Yes.
And it's like harnessing the power in a way. When you harness the people's power, mm-hmm. and it's rooted in truth, that we're all in it together and we all matter. Nobody is saying to people, oh, you need to support this and you have to do that. And nobody is forcing any issues.
Right. I think in us, in the human being, is that desire to love and to be kind. And it is suppressed, unfortunately, by division and hatred and separation and discrimination. But like you said, it's still going to come up. It's still in there. And we need to allow those roots of love and kindness to just flourish instead of the division and the angst and the fighting.
I think we almost have to, I actually genuinely believe this, that to create this kind of division, you actually have to almost ignore your own conscience, your own integrity, mm-hmm. your own values. It's almost like in some kind of way you have to justify what it is that you're going to be doing.
Right. Whereas when you are doing something out of a true, pure motive, it's a whole different feeling. It's not that feeling that I'm doing something wrong. Whereas when you are dividing and when you are causing conflict, something like you said, there's something in you that says this isn't right. We shouldn't be doing this.
Yeah, we know, don't we?
Right?
Yeah, we do.
And yet you feel good when you are doing something to promote the positivity. The voices of others, you said something about everybody has a voice, and yet there are people around the world that can't vocalize that. They don't, and so we need to speak for them as well, because I believe that they are being suppressed and they aren't able to speak up. Maybe even here in our own country, there are, communities and cultures and people that aren't able to express. And I think it's our duty and our responsibility to be that voice.
I think so too. And that kind of a sense of embracing all of us and harnessing this power. So when you've got the power of the people in this way coming together because they want to, because it feels right, it feels good. You don't need to keep sort of refueling yourself then, because it's almost a self-sustaining thing. It brings more people in, you feel better, we feel better. It gives one some kind of backbone and some juice.
Yes, yes.
And I think on the other side, when you're constantly aligned with what is clearly not true, it takes this phenomenal amount of energy to have to keep doubling down on all of that. You have to keep your lie alive and probably squirrel around with it and change it here and there it needs to keep up with the truth that's coming out. So you have to keep changing it all the time.
Well, you're constantly having to think, what is the narrative that I can continue this to keep it going?
Yeah.
So your mind is constantly trying to figure out more or less how to justify what you are saying is just. You shouldn't have to try to figure out how to justify that. If it is just, it should come naturally and organically, and it's not. We know in our soul what is just and what we need to be doing.
Yeah, that is so true. And of course, the truth at the end of the day is something that will always set us free. It sounds like a little bit of a cliche, but in fact, it isn't, because the wonderful thing about the truth is that it's never complicated.
It's not complicated. That's beautiful. That's so true. You don't have to think about it. It's the truth. It's easy to say. It just comes out. When you are trying to justify your behavior, when you know in your heart that something's not right, like you said, you have to continue that lie, and then you have to tell another lie to continue that. And you're just continuing to try to make it. It's like fitting what do they say? A round peg in a square hole. It doesn't work.
Right.
It doesn't come organically. It's not in us to do that.
Yeah, you have to keep filling in those little bits to try and make it work. And then you have to keep doubling down on everybody else who is meant to be doing this. Right. And so you have to kind of rely as well on them being as determined with that agenda.
Right.
So there's always the fear that somehow or another something's going to pop up, something's going to happen. And this idea that you can force issues and make them stick. And in my recent article, I just wrote about the idea of, after the Second World War, there's this grand idea to separate East from West, and we'll build a wall. Right. Building a wall is always a good idea. Right? So anyway, they build this wall, and I did a little research on how many people needed to police the wall. And it was hundreds of thousands of people.
Wow.
From the Soviet Union originally, from Britain, from Germany, and from the Soviet Union. So everybody on either side is marching around and under surveillance, and got to keep this wall in place, got to separate the people. And the East Germans, who have got the biggest problem because the wall has divided Germany. So it's divided families from one another, friends from one another, everything sort of overnight.
Yeah.
And the East Germans then, and I when I was researching this, because I'm always fascinated about history and what we can learn from the patterns. And the East Germans had to then create another force of people to keep an eye on the people who were already enforcing the wall, because they were worried that their guards would defect, which of course many of them did, because they worked out places where if you were really brave, you might be able to get across.
Wow.
Insane. How long is this wall going to stay up? I ask you, really.
Right.
How long is this possible?
And again, what does it prove? How does that unify anyone? How does that bring, together peace and harmony in the world, which I think in our soul, that's what everybody wants.
Yes.
If you could just interview anybody, someone from every country across the globe, they just want to live in peace and harmony. They just want to get up and, have peace in their world. And yet we've made it so complicated.
Yes.
By thinking we're doing good, by dividing and saying this, the group here and this group there. And no, we've done nothing but complicate what
Right.
should be as simple as you mentioned, just a simple way of living.
Yes. Yes, and you can immediately smell out complication. It's like, oh yeah, okay, so I know that there is something going on here that is not particularly truthful.
Right.
So I feel it's really important, and I'm kind of feeling this today, and I know that you are too, that people are beginning to step into that personal power, as we, and the more of us that can do that, the more that will have a magnetic energy on bringing more and more people together. And we see that all the time.
Yeah.
The moment somebody is courageous enough to stand up, even if it seems so simple, but just today, just in the last few days, if I go into the market, for example, I am noticing that people are actually making eye contact now and smiling.
I can't believe you said that. I noticed the same thing because I was trying to be intentional in doing that.
Yes, me too.
That people are looking for someone just to say, hey, how are you? Hope you have a good day. Just a smile, and that bridges that divide, I believe, that we are all in this together.
Yeah.
And sharing a simple hold the door or, have a good day to the cashier when you check out. I think that goes a long way. And it's, and we've gotten so into ourselves over the past decades that we're not thinking about what am I doing today to make a difference in the life of someone else. And as you mentioned before, this awakening, we are seeing now that it's time.
Yeah.
It's time for us to start making a difference every day.
Yeah.
We can't change the world by ourselves, but if we come together, we can.
And of course, the only way forward too is we are going to need to go forward through it all. Yes. I know people who are sort of, I wish it were like it were. Well, that is just going to exhaust one to try to ask for the impossible. So I love this idea that this is how powerful we are. We can co-create what we want, how we want our world to be.
Yes.
With every thought that we have, with every word that we speak,
yes,
with every action that we have. Imagine the power in that.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Living intentionally. Waking up every day and living intentionally. What am I doing today? Now's not a time to retreat.
Right.
And I think a lot of people out of fear just want to retreat.
Yes.
And say, throw my hands up. What am I going to do?
Yeah.
And like you said, thinking about the good old days. No, those are gone. But we can make them again, by stepping into this with courage and saying, I'm not going to retreat. Yeah, I'm going to do something today in my own little community, in my own little world here that's going to bring about positive change, that's going to inspire someone else, that's going to create this worldwide, hopefully,
Yes.
We all have to try.
Yes, we do.
We can't retreat.
Yeah, we do. Yeah, we do. And I just kind of get the sense that we have moved from a spiritual reckoning, which I was sort of very aware of in the beginning. It's like, okay, come on, we've got to wake up now.
Yes.
To this whole idea of we're in a new dawn and a new day, I think.
That's for sure.
And I have a great deal of optimism. And of course, I'm not Pollyanna. I don't suggest that it's all going to work itself out in, rapid time and we're going to be able to move on. We are going to have to go through it. But I think that some of that is the process that we've been called here to the earth, right, at this time. Why on earth are we all here if we're not going to be a part of it,
Right. And we've been given so much.
Right.
We've been given so much when you think about history and what we're living in today and just the blessings and the benefits of living today. We've been given so much, but we have a responsibility to those that are going to come behind us, and if we don't make the change, what does that say for the future generations, if we don't have the courage to stand up and make the change that's necessary?
Yeah, I mean, one of the interesting things about being a human being is we have free will, right?
That's for sure.
So, we can make this choice, and I'm just seeing so many people stepping up and making these fabulous choices.
And that's what's inspiring. Like when you're at a sporting event or something and everybody stands and cheers, you just feel so good. And I think we just need to be cheerleaders for one another around the world and say, we appreciate what you're doing. We're going to do the same thing, and let's just stand up and let our voices be heard and take our power back.
Yeah.
So
I'm going to be coming to Wisdom House in May.
We're so excited. Caroline's going to be joining us in May, on May 13th. She'll be joining us at Wisdom House for a live in-person program. It's going to be just a wonderful day, and we can't wait to see you there in person with us that day. Caroline, thank you so much for taking time to come out to Wisdom House and join us in person.
Yeah, it's just going to be thrilling. We're doing 10 until 2.
Yes.
And I believe we're also going to get a delicious lunch.
We're going to have an amazing lunch.
I would encourage people to go.
Yes. So if you want to go to our website, wisdomhouse.org, under our program tab, you will see the program listed there on May 13th. You can sign up right there. If you have any questions, you can call us, you can email us. All the information is there on our website. And we invite you to join us there and bring someone with you for a day of encouraging and an uplifting time together with Caroline.
So thank you for being with us today on the Wisdom with Elegance Roundtable Series. If you would like to know more about living with inner elegance, visit CarolinePhipps.com. We are putting together an archive of our Roundtable Series, so you'll be able to catch up on that there, which is fun. And we have articles, podcasts and videos that are all there designed to help you lead a more inner elegant life, and even more importantly here, wisdom with elegance.
I also invite you to go to wisdomhouse.org if you have any questions about Wisdom House and the programs that we are offering. If you're looking for a day just to get away and have some peace and quiet, we invite you to come to Wisdom House. If you're looking for programs that are going to uplift and inspire you, we encourage you to check out our programs as well, and that's wisdomhouse.org. You can find our newsletter information there, sign up, where you will be seeing this podcast on our newsletter and our YouTube channel there on the website. And thank you for joining us for this time together.